Breaking news. In a stunning twist, Hamas has agreed to parts of Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. But what exactly does this mean for the future of Gaza, Israel, and the wider Middle East? Stay tuned, because in today's video we'll break down the deal, the hidden motives, and the possible outcomes. And you won't believe what could come next. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're covering breaking news that is shaking the political landscape of the Middle East. Hamas, the Palestinian resistance group that controls Gaza, has reportedly accepted parts of former U.S. President Donald Trump's Gaza plan. For years, Trump's plan was dismissed by Palestinian leaders as one-sided and biased toward Israel. Yet now, reports suggest Hamas is willing to adopt certain elements of it. This surprising shift raises major questions: why now, and what exactly does Hamas hope to gain? To understand the significance of this moment, we first need to revisit what Trump's Gaza plan actually was. Officially presented as part of his deal of the century, the plan aimed to reshape the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by offering economic incentives, new infrastructure projects, and limited political recognition. However, it also demanded heavy concessions from Palestinians, including recognition of Israeli settlements and limited sovereignty over fragmented territories. For this reason, Palestinians across the spectrum rejected it when it was first announced. So why would Hamas, an organization long opposed to compromise, suddenly accept parts of this controversial proposal? What's changed on the ground, and what's motivating their leaders today? In this video, we'll break it down into 10 clear parts: the original Trump plan, Hamas's shifting strategy, the role of Israel, the influence of Qatar and Egypt, the response from Washington, and most importantly, what comes next for the people of Gaza. Let's dive in. Donald Trump's Gaza plan, officially unveiled in January 2020, was framed as the ultimate peace solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. However, critics immediately labeled it a one-sided deal designed primarily to benefit Israel. At its core, the plan offered billions of dollars in economic investments to the Palestinian territories, promising new jobs, infrastructure development, and trade opportunities. Trump and his advisors argued that prosperity would pave the way for peace. But the catch was enormous. The plan demanded that Palestinians recognize Israel as a Jewish state, abandon claims to Jerusalem as their capital, and accept a fragmented set of territories connected by roads and tunnels rather than a continuous sovereign state. It also gave Israel the green light to annex large portions of the West Bank, something Palestinians viewed as a death sentence for any future independent state. For Hamas, which has historically positioned itself as the strongest opponent to Israeli occupation, Trump's plan was a betrayal of Palestinian rights. They rejected it outright, calling it a conspiracy against Palestine. So why the sudden turnaround now? To answer that, we need to examine the regional shift since 2020. Israel has fought multiple wars with Hamas since the unveiling of the plan. Gaza has faced devastating humanitarian crises, while Arab states like the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco normalized relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords. Hamas may now see partial acceptance of Trump's plan not as a surrender, but as a strategic move to secure relief for Gaza while buying time for its long-term goals. Hamas's acceptance of parts of Trump's plan cannot be understood without looking at the current conditions in Gaza. After years of blockades, bombings, and shortages of food, water, and electricity, the people of Gaza are desperate for relief. Hospitals are overwhelmed, unemployment is sky high, and many families survive on international aid. For Hamas, which governs Gaza, this humanitarian crisis poses a political problem: how to maintain authority when the population is losing faith. By signaling openness to certain elements of Trump's plan, Hamas can appear pragmatic and responsible to both the international community and the people of Gaza. This doesn't mean they are abandoning their ideological stance, but it does mean they are prioritizing survival. Accepting economic aid, new infrastructure projects, or eased border restrictions could provide immediate relief and prevent internal unrest. Another factor is regional politics. Since the Abraham Accords, several Arab states have normalized ties with Israel, sidelining the Palestinian issue. Hamas knows it risks being isolated if it continues to reject all negotiations. By engaging with aspects of Trump's proposal, Hamas can reposition itself as a political player rather than just a militant group. Finally, U.S. politics play a role. With the possibility of Trump running again for president, Hamas may see value in signaling flexibility. If Trump returns to power, they could have an advantage by being seen as willing to engage. This doesn't mean Hamas accepts all the terms, but it signals a new strategy: partial acceptance as a tactical move. Israel's reaction to Hamas's partial acceptance of Trump's plan is complex. On one hand, Israel has always favored Trump's proposal because it legitimized many of its positions. Annexation of settlements, recognition of Jerusalem as its undivided capital, and continued military superiority were all central benefits of the plan. On the other hand, Israel never expected Hamas to engage with it, given Hamas's long-standing hostility. If Hamas is signaling openness, Israel faces both opportunity and risk. The opportunity lies in presenting this as a victory, proof that even its most determined enemy is softening. This could strengthen Israel's international position and give its leaders a chance to argue that Trump's plan was more viable than critics admitted. The risk, however, is that Hamas may use this as a stalling tactic. Israel fears that Hamas could accept economic incentives while secretly rearming and preparing for future conflicts. The memory of past ceasefires that broke down quickly is fresh in the minds of Israeli leaders. Politically, Israel's leadership is divided. Some hardliners argue that no concessions should be made to Hamas, even if it agrees to Trump's terms, because Hamas remains a terrorist organization. Others, however, see potential benefits in reducing tensions in Gaza at least temporarily by easing humanitarian pressure. The Israeli public is also split. Many citizens are wary of endless conflict and may welcome any step that reduces rocket attacks from Gaza. Still, deep mistrust runs both ways, making genuine compromise fragile. The United States plays a central role in this development. Trump's Gaza plan was crafted with heavy input from his son-in-law Jared Kushner, and while it was largely dismissed at the time, it now appears to be resurfacing in unexpected ways. Washington's reaction today depends on the administration in power. If we look at the Biden administration, officials have largely avoided Trump's plan, preferring more traditional diplomatic channels. Biden's team has prioritized humanitarian aid to Palestinians, support for Israel's security, and quiet mediation rather than grand peace deals. Hamas's acceptance of parts of Trump's plan puts Biden in an awkward spot should he ignore it, embrace it, or craft his own alternative framework. Meanwhile, Trump himself could seize this moment politically. If he runs again, he will likely point to Hamas's acceptance as proof that his plan had merit all along. Even Hamas agrees. He could argue, framing it as validation of his foreign policy. This narrative could resonate with his supporters, who have long viewed him as a strong negotiator in the Middle East. For Hamas, playing into Trump's narrative may be a calculated risk. They may believe that Trump's return is possible, and by aligning with parts of his plan now, they can prepare for future negotiations. At the same time, they know that any U.S. administration holds tremendous influence over aid, sanctions, and diplomatic recognition, making America's role in this unfolding story decisive. No development in Gaza can be understood without considering the broader Arab world. For decades, Arab states claimed to stand in solidarity with Palestinians, but recent years have shown a shift in priorities. The Abraham Accords saw countries like the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco normalize relations with Israel. Saudi Arabia has also inched closer to normalization. In this context, the Palestinian issue has lost some of its traditional weight in regional diplomacy. For Hamas, partial acceptance of Trump's plan is a way to regain relevance. By showing flexibility, they can appeal to Arab states that might otherwise dismiss them as radicals. If Arab countries see Hamas as pragmatic, they may be more willing to funnel aid into Gaza or support diplomatic initiatives that reduce tensions. Egypt and Qatar are especially important here. Both countries have mediated between Hamas and Israel in the past, and both hold influence over how humanitarian aid reaches Gaza. Qatar in particular has been a key lifeline for Hamas, providing funds for salaries, fuel, and infrastructure. If Hamas shows openness to negotiations, Qatar may push for broader acceptance in the Arab League. However, there's a risk too. Some Arab governments fear that legitimizing Hamas could embolden Islamist movements within their own borders. They may support Gaza economically but hesitate to offer full political backing. The regional impact, therefore, will depend on how Hamas balances its pragmatism with its ideological commitments. For the ordinary people of Gaza, this development carries deep significance. Years of conflict and blockade have left Gaza in ruins. Electricity is often available for only a few hours a day. Clean water is scarce. Hospitals lack medicine and equipment, and unemployment rates hover around 50%. Many families rely on international aid just to survive. If Hamas's acceptance of parts of Trump's plan leads to new economic projects, improved trade routes, or eased border restrictions, the benefits could be immediate. New infrastructure could create jobs, better electricity access, and perhaps even opportunities for young people to travel or study abroad. For many Gazans, even small improvements in daily life would be a relief after years of suffering. Yet there is also skepticism. Some fear that Hamas may pocket economic gains while ordinary people see little change. Past deals have sometimes resulted in short-term relief followed by renewed violence, leaving civilians caught in the crossfire. Others worry that accepting Trump's plan, even partially, could mean compromising on long-term political rights such as the right of return or full sovereignty. Still, the humanitarian angle is critical. If Gaza's people feel some hope, it could reduce desperation and, by extension, reduce the appeal of renewed conflict. In this sense, Hamas's move is not just about politics but also about survival, for both the group itself and the 2 million people living under its rule. Now that Hamas has opened the door, what happens next? There are several possible scenarios. Scenario 1: negotiations expand. If Hamas signals willingness to accept more elements of Trump's plan, this could lead to mediated talks involving the US, Israel, and Arab states. In this scenario, Gaza might receive significant economic aid and tensions could ease temporarily. Scenario 2: partial relief without real peace. Hamas may accept economic aid and limited concessions, but avoid deeper compromises on core issues like Jerusalem or refugees. This would bring short-term benefits but keep the larger conflict unresolved. Scenario 3: collapse and backlash. If Hamas's move is perceived by Palestinians as a betrayal, it could spark protests or even internal divisions. Rival groups like Islamic Jihad might exploit this to gain influence. Scenario 4: strategic deception. Hamas might be using this as a tactic to buy time, rebuild strength, and prepare for future conflict with Israel. In this case, the lull could be temporary, with another round of fighting down the road. Each scenario has different consequences for the region. The key question is whether this marks a genuine shift in Hamas's strategy or simply a temporary maneuver. Either way, the coming months will be critical in shaping the future of Gaza and the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Section 9's global reactions. 250 words. The world is watching closely. International reactions to Hamas's move are already starting to emerge. In Europe, some officials see this as a possible opening for renewed diplomacy. The European Union has long supported a two-state solution, and any sign of flexibility from Hamas could encourage new initiatives. The United Nations may also step in, especially if humanitarian access to Gaza improves. UN agencies have repeatedly warned of an impending collapse in Gaza if aid is not expanded. Hamas's acceptance of economic elements in Trump's plan could give the UN an opportunity to channel resources more effectively. In Washington, the political debate is likely to intensify. Republicans may hail this as proof of Trump's foreign policy success, while Democrats may downplay it or try to redirect the narrative toward their own approaches. Meanwhile, in Israel, reactions are mixed as mentioned earlier. Hardliners see danger, moderates see opportunity. Arab states will weigh the potential benefits of a calmer Gaza against the risks of empowering Hamas. For the international community, the key concern is whether this moment can be leveraged into something sustainable. Will it be a turning point towards stability, or just another short-lived episode in a long history of failed peace efforts? Global powers, regional players, and the people on the ground all have stakes in the outcome, making this a geopolitical moment with far-reaching consequences. In conclusion, Hamas's acceptance of parts of Trump's Gaza plan is a development that few saw coming. For years, the plan was dismissed as unrealistic, biased, and dead on arrival. Yet now, in the face of dire humanitarian conditions, shifting regional politics, and uncertain global dynamics, Hamas has chosen to take a calculated risk. The motivations are layered: easing the suffering in Gaza, repositioning themselves politically, avoiding isolation, and preparing for possible changes in U.S. leadership. For Israel, this is both an opportunity and a risk. For the United States, it is a test of how foreign policy legacies can shape the present. For Arab states, it is a moment to reconsider their role in supporting Palestinians while pursuing their own interests. Most importantly, for the people of Gaza, this could mean the difference between continued despair and a small window of hope. Whether this becomes a genuine turning point, or just another episode in a long struggle, remains to be seen. So what do you think? Is Hamas making a smart strategic move, or is this just another political maneuver with no real change ahead? Could Trump's plan, once dismissed, suddenly become relevant again? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into global issues. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Until next time, thanks for watching.